Hi boys and girls. In this video I'm just going to review how we subtract and how do we know when we are to add or subtract when given a word problem. So you can see up here that I have my two little anchor charts similar to what we had in the classroom or in our duotangs. These are words that tell us to add, sum, total, altogether, in all, how much, or combined, and words that tell us to subtract. How much more than, how many left, difference, or words that tell us that we are comparing two objects, more than or larger than, heavier than, maybe lighter than. Our problem today is as follows. Ben and Addie each catch a fish. Ben's fish weighs 325 grams. Addie's fish weighs 158 grams. How much heavier is Ben's fish than Addie's fish? So we know in our math that we use a strategy called cubs. So we circle the important numbers in this problem, numbers that we think we're going to be putting together. So I have 325 grams and I have 158 grams. And the question says how much heavier is Ben's fish than Addie's fish. So than and how much heavier, I'm comparing the two fish. And if I'm comparing heavier than, then I am going to be subtracting. So when we subtract, we always start with the larger number on top if we are going to do stack and subtract. And underneath that, I'm going to set up my two numbers so that all of my place values are lined up. And I'm ready to subtract. So 5 take away 8. I can't do that. I need to have more ones on top. And in this case, I don't. So we've learned that we can borrow from our neighbor right next door, if they have tens to borrow. And here we do. So I can take one of these tens away and I can regroup it back into 10 ones. We know that 110, okay, is equal to 10 ones, 3, 4, 5. These would be like the little centimeter cubes that we have in the classroom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I am giving these 10 back to the ones. So if I take 10 and I put them back over here, I'm going to have 15. So this is no longer 5. This is now 15. All right. So now I can do 15 take away 8. And I'm going to get 7. Now when I look at my tens, 1 take away 5, I can't do that. So again, I can go next door to the hundreds and same thing. I can take one of the hundreds away, so there'll be 2 left, and that big 100, if I regroup it, I know that I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to get 10 tens, and these tens, follow my arrow, are going to go all the way back to the 10. So now I don't have 1 10 anymore. I'm going to have 1 plus these 10, and I'm going to have 11. Okay, so now I'm going to have 11 left over. Let me just get rid of some of these arrows just so we know that we saw the ones come through. So here are my new 10s up here. And I'm going to have 11 take away 5, which is going to be 6 tens left over. And then finally, 2 take away 1 is going to be 1. I can do that. There's nothing else needed. I've got more hundreds on top, and I got 167 grams. So I kind of just showed you down here what we would have had in our anchor charts and in our notebooks from review, how we do this regrouping. Now, another way that you can do this problem to find the difference, really what we're saying here is we have 158, and we know that there's another number out there, and together these numbers are going to make 325. Okay, so I'm finding the difference between 325 and 158. So I can actually start at 158 and using a similar strategy, I can leapfrog my way to 325. And I know some of you enjoyed this strategy in classroom because you preferred addition over subtraction. So we're going to get to a friendly number. And remember, our friendly numbers are numbers that end in 0 or 0, 0. So I'm at 158. What is the next closest friendly number? Right, so it is 160. So if I add 2, I can get to 160. Okay, now if I want to go to the next friendly number, I could keep going by 70, 80, 90, and so on. But if I'm at 160 out of tens, I can probably get myself to 200 by adding tens. Can you think of how many tens I need to add here? Correct, 40. That was the right number. I think I heard somebody say that. All right, so now I'm at 200. I can probably make a big jump and get myself to 300. If I add one number here, one specific number, I think somebody said 100 at home. All right, and then from 300, it's a pretty easy jump to get to 325. I'm just going to add my 25. So that shows the difference between 158 and 325. So now what we need to do, boys and girls, is you remember from one of our addition strategies, I need to take these numbers because this represents the total difference between 158 and 325. So I can take my 100 and I can add my 40 and I can add my 25, which I'm going to break right now into 20 plus 5. Let me fix this plus sign here. Whoops. That's pretty good. And then I'm going to take my 2. So you have to make sure you get all of these jumps in this final part here. And I can use my mental math to add these all together. So 100 plus 40, that's going to make 140. And then I'm going to take those and I'm going to add 140 plus 20 is 160. And then I'm going to add the 5 and the 2, which makes 7. So that's going to get me to 167. So 167 grams, which matches what we had before. And then if I want to answer the problem in a word sentence, I can say, how much heavier is Ben's fish than Addie's fish? Ben's fish is 167 grams heavier than Addie's.